Hey nerds, what's up? Today it's my reading goals for 2021. See ya after the jump. So it's the new year and everyone's setting their reading goals, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about them with you guys since I love seeing other people's reading goals and maybe incorporating them into my own year. If you guys have watched some of my other videos, you know that I never set a book number goal. It's just something I don't particularly like to do because I feel like there are other goals that help me improve my reading and read more complicated novels than just book number. A lot of the times if I set a book number for myself, it encourages me not to go for hard or long or difficult books, and I never want to do that to myself. So just as a personal thing, I never set a number. Instead, I try to find ways to force myself to read books I might not otherwise read and kind of get out of my comfortable, fantasy zone. So I came up with 4 goals this year, and I want to share them with you guys. You'll notice that the goals I have are way less than the number of books I'll read for the year. And that's just because although I super admire people that are able to just plan out their entire year, month by month, week by week, sometimes I've seen with the specific book they're gonna read, I'm the kind of reader who kind of has to go with the flow and just whatever I feel like next I'll pick up without any sort of plan. So my New Year's goals for reading are pretty basic in terms of how many books it'll require, and it'll allow me to have a lot of freedom during the year to pick up whatever I want. So let's get into it. Number 1, 3 well-read books. So what I mean by well-read books are books that make a person seem well-read. Okay, that might have been a little obvious. What I mean is there are a lot of books that are kind of in our canon or in our cultural vernacular that come up again and again. For example, things like 1984. Those are books that made a huge impact, and we use some of the language like Big Brother to this day, whether or not we've participated in that book or not. And every year I like to add some of these books to my list so that I can understand where these references come from and improve my literary knowledge. Now, I'm definitely not someone who thinks you should read something. I think a lot of times people being forced to read classics is what turns them off of reading. And even though I sometimes don't enjoy these classics, sometimes I really do. But I always gain a lot from reading those books that have had a big impact on our cultural history. So this year, I want to choose 3 very well-known classics that I haven't read yet and read them. So I don't know what I'm gonna pick yet, but I'm excited to kind of increase my list of books that are important historically. An example of a book I read last year like this was Frankenstein. I have never seen a movie of Frankenstein or read the book, but it's so in our vernacular, like it's alive and like this green monster thing. And reading it and finding out how far our perception of Frankenstein was from the original novel was super interesting. And I feel like I just know a little bit more about that cultural impact having read that book. So we'll see what happens this year. Number 2, read my friends' favorite books. So something I realized recently is that I'm a book pusher, and I push all of my favorites onto my friends, and they are very nice and they oblige. But I was sort of thinking like, have I really returned the favor? Have I read some of my friends' favorite books? So I texted 4 of my friends and said, hey, what's your favorite book? Tell me what it is. I'm gonna try to read it this year. So that will be very interesting. They gave me a list. I'm trying to think of the couple in my head. My sister's favorite book is Jane Eyre, which I haven't read yet, so I'll read that one. And then weirdly, one of my other friends' favorite book that she read recently was My Lady Jane. So 2 Janes. So I'm gonna read those 2. I can't remember off the top of my head the other 2 right now, but I'm really excited to read those and see what my friends like. They don't necessarily read as much fantasy as I do, so I think it will expand my horizons a little bit, and I'm excited to read what they like. Number 3, start my Wheel of Time reread. So this is something I've been wanting to do for a long time, but I keep putting it off because the scope of rereading Wheel of Time terrifies me. Like, I want to reread it. I want to get those details that I missed, the first time around, and I loved it so much, but it's a big commitment. And what I finally realized is like, why am I putting it on myself to read all 14 just like in a row right away? I don't have to do that. I can split it up. I know what happens. So this year my goal is only to get through Eye of the World. Like, I'm just gonna start the reread. And if I feel like reading more, I will. And if I don't, I'll wait till next year. So just gonna start it. And I'm excited to see because I think there's a lot of stuff apparently you missed the first time around. Number 4, read some more magical realism. So I always say I'm a huge fan of magical realism, but as I was taking stock the other day, I realized I pretty much only read Haruki Murakami. Now I love Murakami and I think he is a great example of magical realism, But other than reading some Helen Oyemi this year, I haven't really read a lot. And I was like, if I like it so much, I need to expand my readership on this kind of subgenre. So I'm going to pick some random books this year, and I want to explore some of the more famous magical realism authors other than Murakami and see how I like them, or if I just have a love affair with Murakami. So I'm excited to do that. I've already picked out a couple and I hope I enjoy them. Okay, and those are my 4 reading goals for the year. I know those must seem very small compared to how a lot of readers plan their year and make their reading goals, but I like to leave plenty of room for new releases, buddy reads, recommendations, or just anything else I randomly pick up. Again, I don't really like to plan my year, but I do want to try to push myself. So you'll notice that all 4 of these goals revolve around me reading stuff that I might not automatically pick up on my own. So I want to know what your reading goals are for this year. Please drop them below. I may adopt some of them if I like the goals because like I said, I left room, so maybe there's some of them I want to do. Let me know how you did on your reading goals for last year. That's always fun to see. I didn't set any reading goals last year, which I think ended up being good because 2020 was such a crazy year and it was like the first year I hadn't set those goals. So I'm glad to be back on track this year doing that. And if you like this video, as always, subscribe, comment, and like. And if you want to see what I'm currently reading, you can check me out on Instagram at bookborn.reviews. I'll see you next time. Bye.